Hey guys, welcome back to another Total Genre rewrite. The last one I did was like 2 years ago, but we're back. This one's obviously about Trent here. Um, Before I get started, I hope this is sort of become like a series, a rewrite series, where I can sort of make like this a connected rewrite universe. So, like for example, this rewrite will connect to the next one, and then that one will connect to the next one, to make it all like a big universe. So like everything makes sense at the end. That probably won't happen with my upload schedule, but one can really dream. Like I said, I made an Ezekiel one like 2 years ago. I personally think that's bad. Maybe I could do it sometime, but that's not connected to this universe. Just that's like its solo video. The reason I chose to do Trent is that most of my rewrites lead to the person winning, and I wanted to change that out where that doesn't happen. Which means yes, spoiler, Trent is not winning a season here. That should have been expected by everyone. As for this being connected, I won't go over all the eliminations like I usually do. So like I won't put like Lindsay is first, Owen is third, Justin is fourth. I'm not gonna be doing all that. Um, so I don't like spoil the future rewrites because all the eliminations will line up. So I don't want to spoil them because the more I focus on them, the less room I leave for myself for future rewrites, and the more obvious and the more spoiled the future rewrites will become. So I want to leave it as vague as possible. I will only talk about the eliminations that I have to talk about here. Um, and yes, I know the actual creators on Total Drama have parameters that they have to abide by, and I don't. But I will do my best to try to emulate those parameters. So one of the big parameters that they had is that the network, or that's a rumor at least, I don't know if that's ever been confirmed, but we'll go with it anyways, is that they had to break up Gwen and Trent to do Gwen and Duncan. So I'm going to do that here. I have to break up Gwen and Trent while doing Gwen and Duncan. I won't be focusing on Gwen and Duncan too much this video, but that's just for future reference. If you like Gwen and Trent, hopefully you'll still be happy by the end of this video, so I won't click off just yet, but I am going to have to break them up. However, I still think I can work with Trent here, though. His role is a straight man in the show, and I don't mean sexually, I mean he bounces off of other characters. Which means he doesn't have too much of a personality outside being like the calm, normal person, you could say. So I'll be playing into that more. At the beginning of Island, there isn't much I would change in Island for him, so I won't be going episode by episode if that wasn't already obvious in this rewrite here. Um, like I said, I would still have like Gwen overshadow Trent here. I wouldn't make any changes, nothing like that, just no changes. He's still eliminated in the same spot. So where the actual rewrite begins is total drama action. Now I have to make Trent and Gwen break up without ruining either of them. I've just mentioned Trent being overshadowed, and I'll have that come into play this season. So to start off the rewrite, throughout the season, Gwen gained a bunch of friends, right? So like DJ, Bridget, I don't know, LaShawn, all of them. So all of them gained some, like they're all Gwen's friends now because that's what I think that's where Gwen's arc should have gone, is that she came out of her cell in Island, and now she has all those friends. The issue here is that she doesn't know how to allot the time. So for example, she has all these new friends, so she wants to talk to them. However, that doesn't leave her enough time to talk to Trent. So she has to like sort of figure out how much time should she spend with who. As for Trent, his issue is that nobody really trusts him after last season, after the kiss with Heather. Even if it wasn't his fault, nobody really like 100% trusts him anymore, you know? So just that's the background here. So for the captains, as you can see, I would not have Trent be on the grips. I would have like someone else be the captain. It doesn't matter if it's Lindsay, Owen, Justin. It doesn't matter who the captain is. Um, Trent would go on the gappers here. That's that. These are the teams. So it's Gwen, Trent, Lashana, Heather, Duncan, Harold, Lindsay, Owen, Justin, Izzy, Bridget, DJ, Courtney. Yes, I would have Courtney start off. In the beginning. If you want the teams to be even, just add Jeff and have be eliminated first. It does not matter. I don't care. But like just Courtney starts off. That won't affect this rewrite, but it will affect future rewrites. So like the by the way, the girl boy rule for like the picking, where like Gwen has to pick a boy and then Lindsay has to pick a girl. I don't fucking know what it was. That doesn't apply here. I don't care about that rule. Okay, so Trent is now on the same team as Gwen. I swapped Trent and DJ, as you can see. Um, these are teams. Now we can get started, like officially. So for the first couple of episodes, many of Gwen's friends are like pulling her into conversations, right? Because they want to talk to her. So like LaShawn is pulling Gwen into conversation. I don't know, like Owen's pulling Gwen into conversation. Doesn't matter who. So this leaves Gwen like sort of like befuddled. She's not overwhelmed even because she's not used to the newfound attention. Both of them really want to talk to each other. It's like Gwen and Trent really want to talk to each other, but they don't get the chance. Like I said, nobody's really talking to Trent after last season with the kiss with Heather. At first, Trent doesn't seem really bothered by this fact, but over time he becomes more and more frustrated with the lack of communication with Gwen. And as is Gwen, and Gwen is also frustrated. They're not mad at each other as of yet, but they're also mad at the other people who are dragging Gwen into the conversations. So they don't have time to talk to each other, really. Duncan happens to be one of these people who insist on talking with Gwen. He's smart about it, though. He never interrupts her when she's trying to get to Trent. Instead, he does it when she's alone. So Gwen doesn't really get mad at him since he's not interrupting anything. So, for example, other people would probably be pulling Gwen in conversations when she's trying to talk to Trent, where she's like about to go up to Trent. It's like, oh, Gwen, I need you. Gwen, I need you. But Duncan does it when she's alone, when it's her alone time. So like Gwen is not really all that bothered since she has nothing better to do, really, if that makes sense. So she doesn't really hate Duncan for it. Okay. So Trent sort of sees this scenario differently. In his head, Gwen is using her alone time to talk to Duncan instead of him. That's how he's thinking about it. Which is pretty much true, even if it's unintentional on Gwen's part. She's not doing this on purpose, like make Trent jealous or anything. It's just unintentional. Duncan came up to her, so she's talking to him. So this does get Trent kind of paranoid. Do not worry, it's not as bad as the paranoia he had in action. He's not going to go 9, none of that. But he's paranoid enough to go to Heather for all people for help. So like these two are now, they're talking. He's paranoid enough to go to Heather of all people. Why Heather? Why not Lashana? Why not Harold? Heather's the only other one who is also isolated. Nobody's talking to Heather, obviously. Just like in the canon. Why would anyone talk to Heather right now? Why? So she's also alone, which means she is Trent's only option. She's the only one that would understand. So not Gwen, Trent goes to Heather for help. So she agrees to help him out, which is a little bit out of character. Hear me out though. She agrees to help him out as long as she can she gets a favor from him later on, just a favor. And Trent is reluctantly agrees to yeah, whatever. He knows that Heather's probably playing a game with him, but he's so desperate to get to talk to Gwen that he agrees to do this. So, blah blah blah. Trent reluctantly agrees, and Heather investigates the situation. At this point, we're probably around episode 3 for reference. So what Heather finds is what we know. Gwen does try to see Trent, but always gets interrupted by someone, and Duncan always shows up whenever she's alone to talk to her. So just pretty much the same things I've said. Heather tells Trent this pretty straightforwardly. No, she doesn't lie. Nothing manipulative here. She actually gives him some advice too, saying that why can't he just go to Gwen when she's alone? Why can't he just do that himself? Duncan's doing that. Why can't he do that? And Trent feels kind of stupid for not realizing that earlier. So Trent does do what Heather says. He goes to Gwen, and Gwen immediately. So he finally gets to talk to Gwen. It works out. Gwen immediately apologizes for the lack of communication on her end. However, before they could truly start conversating, is that a word? Before they could start talking, Duncan comes in and alerts Gwen of something that is happening. Let's just say, for instance, it's like a Lindsay and Courtney fight. Lindsay and Courtney are fighting, and Duncan wants to drag Gwen along to watch or whatever. The specifics don't matter. Gwen at first tells him no. She's talking to Trent. Duncan insists and tells her that it's serious. Gwen apologizes to Trent, but willingly goes with Duncan to check it out. So Gwen leaves Trent there and goes out to check out the fight because it's serious, according to Duncan. Does it matter if it's actually serious or not? No, it doesn't. So this leaves Trent alone. And it's like Heather, who is watching the whole thing, comes out and sort of like mockingly pats him on the back. like saying like that's harsh, but it's like sarcastically. So like she's being a bitch. Like she's not completely out of character, but she's being a bitch, you know. So Trent pissed off, storms off to it back to his cabin or whatever. Now in episode 5. So by the way, the favor. Well, we'll get to the favor later. And no, don't even think about like the Alejandro Tyler favor. It's nothing like that. Don't even think about that, bruh. I hate that. I hate that video. But regardless, on episode 5, in Trent. Well, all right. Let's start off with Gwen goes to talk to Trent. So Gwen goes to talk to Trent, and so except that she sees something that she doesn't really want to see. So Trent is like sitting on a rock or whatever he's sitting on a bench. It doesn't matter. Heather's right next to him, and the two are like conversating. That is what the favor was for. Heather just wanted someone to talk to. That was her favor. So she's like Heather's just venting to Trent about all the things she hates about everyone. Whatever. It's kind of out of character for her to use like a favor like that, but she's not really in a position to make moves right now. So she's just like, whatever. I'll just use it to do this. So she's like conversating with Trent. Trust me, I'll cook with Heather later. It's fine. It's fine. Um. So Gwen is like pissed off though, because like why are these two hanging out? Why are they hanging out together? And then so Gwen confronts Trent immediately, and Gwen freaks out like, what the? Well, you can't swear. They can't swear on the show. And the two start arguing with Heather watching, except that Heather doesn't really enjoy the argument really. She's just sort of sitting there watching neutrally, like she's just a watcher. She's not. She's just neutral in all of this. Gwen yells at him, asking why is he hanging out with Heather? Trent responds that she's the only one that is actually talking to him. She was a last resort. He had no other choice because everyone else left him alone. Gwen tells him that he should have talked to her about it. Trent says he tried every day. She was the one that always got dragged off, not him. She was the one that was never available, not him. He essentially blames her for the lack of communication. He tells her that the last straw was that she went off with Duncan while he was right there. Gwen tells him that it was a serious matter. Trent immediately cuts her off, saying it was a fight between two people who are not even involved with their team. Gwen says she didn't know that. Duncan said it was serious. The two continue to go back and forth about who was right and who was wrong for the lack of communication. And so Trent blurts out, he's done, he wants to break up. Gwen happily agrees, and the two storm off in different directions. So that was a lot. But basically, the two argue with Heather watching in the middle. And it's just a bad communication, really bad communication between the two. Both of them are wrong, pretty much. Both of them are wrong. Trent should have been more. How do I put this? Trent's issue was that he immediately went to Heather of all people. Heather, and that's like Gwen's worst enemy. Gwen's issue is that she did not allot the time to talk to Trent. That is her issue. She did not talk to Trent enough. She didn't, you could say, value Trent enough to talk to him. Even if it was unintentional, she didn't mean to hurt him. She did do those things. So it's just bad communication all around, both of them doing dumb decisions. So they're broken up now. However, when they both split off, they both start crying. Like Gwen's crying in her cabin, Trent's crying in his cabin. Word gets around the camp that the elimination for episode 5 is basically Trent versus Gwen for who goes home, basically, if that makes sense. It should make sense. Of course, people like Lashana and Duncan side with Gwen. The hero does not care. Blah blah blah, and like you have like Heather and Trent, pretty much they're all by themselves. So like Heather's siding with Trent and Trent's siding with Trent, obviously. So at the elimination, it's close. But the one eliminated was Gwen. So Gwen's gone now. I guess I could make a new role for just like eliminated or whatever. Gwen's gone. And the reason why is that she voted herself out. The reason why is that she wasn't able to move past Trent, and simply she didn't want to stay in after all the drama. She's thankful for the new friend she got, but like this isn't worth it. It just isn't worth it staying here. She came back. You could say she came back for Trent, and all this just collapsed. It collapsed. She doesn't want to stay here anymore. Trent confronts her and apologizes for his wrongdoings, and Gwen does the same. The two hug it out, and Gwen goes home, but they don't get back together. So they're on better terms now, but they don't get back together. That's, I think, the best way you could really do it. It's realistic. There's bad communication all around, and none of them want to hurt each other. But I'll get to like the recap or like the discussion after I finish off Trent. Trent doesn't last much longer. He's the next one out at 12th after the drama catches up with him. My fault. So Gwen's 13th, Trent is 12th. They get out back to back. However, before he leaves, Heather does shake his hand, and she sort of gives like a half-assed apology for what she did in the island. Trent thanks her for helping him out, and leaves. So Heather just like sort of half-asses an apology. I just said that. I don't know why I'm repeating myself. Okay, so that's a lot to take in. But what I wanted to do here is have Gwen and Trent both in the wrong, like I said, not just Trent in action. Like in action. My apologies. Both of them had faults that led to the breakup. For example, Trent working with Heather, knowing that Gwen hates her, and Gwen not telling people, no, I don't want to talk to you. I want to see Trent, and so on and so forth. Like they both had issues that led to the breakup. Neither of them were malicious with their actions, but it still led to each other being hurt from the other's actions. Hopefully that makes sense. You can argue who is right, but who is right doesn't matter here. That does not matter. I think the breakup still has the drama of the first one, so it's still entertaining relationship wise, but it's not character ruining. Like they both have flaws. They realize their mistakes. They apologize for their mistakes, and they're now on cool terms, but they aren't together anymore. So let's go over each character's involvement, but like the side characters. Duncan's involvement, I didn't mention him too much, but I did set up the foundation that Gwen does enjoy hanging out with him and sees him as a friend, which was all. That's all that was needed here. That was all that was needed to lead to their World Tour relationship. As for Heather's involvement, I think her being friends with like a desperate Trent, my apologies, gives another layer to her character. She's a teenager. She's desperate for communication. Everyone hates her. She's isolated even more than Trent is, so why not talk to him? She shows small amounts of kindness to him since she doesn't want to lose the only source of communication she has. But at that same point, she isn't like super nice to him either, since that would just be like out of character. She shouldn't be nice to Trent. I think Trent being the only one who is cool with Heather gives him a needed interaction that separates him from just being Gwen's boyfriend. And for Heather showing small hints of kindness leads well into her World Tour run. So keep in mind, there's only like 5 episodes here. So I think, like I said, Trent being friends with Heather sort of separates him from the pack. Like, it makes him different and it gives him something that his character can grip onto because it makes him different. It gives him like a personality, you know? I'm not saying like Trent being friends with Heather is his personality. I'm just saying that it gives another layer to his character. Um, that's what I hope. And if you think Heather was too nice, that is because I'm only focusing on her kindness in this video. Once I get to like her like world tour. Okay, so as you can see, this video is not done yet. I would put Trent in world tour. So along with Eva, as you can see right there. It is a musical season after all. As for the teams, you can see it. Trent, Harold, DJ, Bridget, Lashana, Ezekiel, Lindsay, Heather, Corny, Gwen, Sierra, Cody, Alejandro, Owen, Izzy, Eva, Noah, Tyler. Those would be my teams. They're all even now. Yes, I would still have Duncan out be early. The Duncan elimination be early, I mean. But maybe he comes back later. That doesn't really matter because that isn't what this is about anymore. This season is all about separating Trent's character from Gwen's character. So they don't have much interaction here. Trent's goal is to simply like his goal would just be like doing good this season, if that makes sense. It make more sense later on. He wants a drama-free run though. He doesn't want to have like any drama in this run in this season. Except that immediately doesn't work out after he essentially becomes the team captain of Victory after they lose 2 members off rip. I'm not gonna say which 2 members they lost. It doesn't matter. We'll just leave it as B. So he knows he's in a dire situation. They already have 4 players left. So let's just put Trent here because he's the captain now. So they lose 2 members. It doesn't matter which two. Let's just say, for reference sake, it's like Hold on. Let me put this as like eliminated. This is not the actual elimination order. I'm just saying for this for reference. So, like, just put a random two up there. It doesn't matter. So there's only four players, including him now. It becomes a little. He begins to stress over on how to stop this losing. Let me just move them back because I'm going to get confused later on. He begins to stress over like how to stop this losing streak since he's basically the one in charge now. It becomes a little bit obsessive, but not in the same way as he was in action, in the canon action, I mean. The obsession is more like he stays up all night trying to think how he's going to fix this type of stress. He tries to come up with strategies before the challenges. His team grows increasingly worried for him, but nobody mentions anything yet. They eventually lose the next challenge and they have to vote someone else out. Trent at this point is really upset. He hasn't gotten any sleep and has been up all night, still been up all night, trying to think of ways to win, despite the numbers disadvantage. It's at this point one of his teammates says something. It doesn't matter which teammate. They bring up the fact that he needs to relax, and unlike the action canon, he actually agrees. So like whenever someone in action would be like Trent, you need to relax, he would just like not agree at all. Trent actually agrees here. He needs to relax. He realizes he needs to relax, and he finally gets some sleep after the advice. Except they lose the next challenge. They now lost four players in a row, and it's now Trent and someone else. So like, there's only two players left on Team Victory. There's just Trent and someone else. It doesn't matter who. The obsession begins again. Trent realizes he's on the verge of losing. He's losing the chance not to be known as someone's boyfriend. He's losing the chance to become like he's losing a chance to grow. The only other person who's left on the team tells him to relax, that he's going to destroy himself, but this time Trent doesn't listen. He once again stays up all night trying to figure out how to win. That's when he realized something. There was a common denominator in almost all of their losses. Alejandro. That's when he's only the fourth person at this point to have some sort of idea that Alejandro is evil before the elimination. The other names will not be revealed, will be revealed in later rewrites if I ever get to them. Obviously, Heather is one of these names, though. So Heather also realizes that Alejandro is like evil. So despite it being late at night, Trent goes over to Heather, who is sleeping. Their friendship and action carrying over. In a frantic state, Trent tells her that he's figuring out why they keep losing. Alejandro's in the way. Other on one hand is like ecstatic that someone finally realizes who Alejandro is, but on the other hand, he seems kind of concerned. Like like Trent is coming off like some crazy person, even though Heather knows he's ready. That's how frantic he is right now. It's a different kind of frantic as he was in action, and I will get to that later. But he is frantic. It's just not the same way as he was in action. Like I said, I'll get to that later though. Heather tells him to calm down, but Trent like shakes his head no, like he's determined, mentioning that he finally figured out, and now that he's figured out, they can finally win. Trent is ecstatic, except that he hasn't exactly figured out how he's going to defeat Alejandro just yet. Heather agrees to help him on the condition that he gets some sleep. Like she doesn't say that kindly. She's like, Trent, just get some sleep, or like just something mean. And Trent does get some sleep, but he's like happy for what's to come here. At challenge time, Trent is like outright interfering with Team Chris, so like he's sabotaging them, making sure he doesn't win. They don't win, I mean. This leaves his partner, the only other person on Team Victory, like kind of stunned. But they don't stop Trent from like sabotaging Team Chris because it's working. This move catches Alejandro off guard. Like he had no idea this was happening. Heather is helping out Trent too by casually taking Alejandro's distraction so Trent can sabotage him. So what I mean by that is like Heather is distracting Alejandro so Trent can sabotage the team, if that makes sense. This ends up working. Team Victory gets first, Team Amazon gets second, and Team Chris gets third. Trent is practically jumping for joy, pretty much. But there's one issue. It's a non-elimination challenge. Team Chris is safe. This like crushes Trent. It demoralizes him. Then he has like an argument with Chris, but it doesn't really lead anywhere. But he just has like a screaming match with Chris. He's pissed. Despite the fact he's in first class, he cannot enjoy it. He's too obsessed with Alejandro. That That's when the door opens and it's Gwen. Gwen enters the room. Gwen tells him that he needs to relax. Drake cuts her off, said that she doesn't get it. She's already done well. She's already came like in second or first or whatever whatever future rewrite I do with Gwen, whatever place she gets up being, she goes far, and he tells her that. She tells she she rebuttals, still being like kind to him despite the interruption, that he needs to enjoy the time that he has here, enjoy first class, and don't let the game get to his head. Trent responds with the fact that it's $1 million. Like, it's $1 million. Of course, I'm gonna sacrifice my sanity for $1 million. And that she doesn't get it. She's already went far. She doesn't get what it's like losing every single time. She doesn't get it. Trent asks him, no, Gwen asks him if $1 million is worth his sanity. Trent thinks about this for a couple of seconds, and he agrees that like it's not worth it. Gwen chuckles and the two hug. Gwen mentions no matter what the past did to them, she will always be there for him. In or out of the game, no matter who she's with or what she's doing, he can call on her and she will be there. Trent reciprocates the message and Gwen leaves. At the next challenge, despite their effort, Team Victory loses again because of Alejandro. He caught on to their plan and adapted. It's not a tiebreaker this time. Instead, Trent votes himself off, citing the fact that he cannot play the game anymore and that the other person he's with, not mentioning names to not spoil like future rewrites, deserves a spot over him. Heather storms in upset, not storms off, storms in upset that he'd do this. Trent chuckles it off and whispers to her that he knows that Heather likes Alejandro, but he thanks her for still being on his side despite that. Like, thank you, Heather, for helping me out, despite the fact you like Alejandro. Heather storms out, with leaving Trent chuckling, and he gets eliminated at 16th out of 20th. So he gets 16th place. So he doesn't last that very long. Okay, so what I wanted to do this season, despite the limited number of episodes, is separate him from Gwen. Give him his own issues. The storyline is similar to his action one in the fact that he becomes obsessive. But there are differences here, and I want to state those so it doesn't seem like I'm just copy pasting the action storyline. First of all, he isn't obsessing over Gwen. He's obsessing over the game. Secondly, he can be talked down. He has a personality outside of being obsessed. So like an actor, he could not be talked down at all. He's going to be obsessive no matter what someone says to him. But he can be talked down if the right words are said. Like Gwen did it, and his team and his partner in Team Victory did it. Lastly, he isn't doing outright like out of character decisions here because of his obsessiveness. He is still trying to win the game, for example. He is still the chill guy outside of the obsessiveness, which his elimination indicated. So like he doesn't become like obsessed. He does become obsessed. I don't mean it like that. He isn't obsessed all the time. It's only like in spurts. He's just trying to so hard to prove himself. But like to the fact he becomes obsessed over it, you know? As for Gwen and Heather, I did want him to have one more conversation with Gwen before his elimination. I didn't want to take place at his eliminations, like, for example, Tyler being present at Lindsay's elimination. I don't want to do it like that because that would overshadow the elimination, I think. And that would just become like a Trent X Gwen moment. It would become like a Trent and Gwen moment rather than a Trent moment, if that makes sense. So the elimination had to be Trent's. So I had the moment with Gwen take place earlier because I still think like you need a little bit of closure there still. So I think that conversation did it well. Just give them closure. They still rely on each other even if they're not together. As for Heather, I kept their friendship intact, especially since they have similar goals this season. I wanted him to be the first one to figure out that she likes Alejandro because of their friendship. So like Trent is the first one to outright admit to Heather, and he's the first one to really notice that she likes Alejandro, to show how that friendship developed and how like he sort of gets her. Like they're not best friends or anything. Heather's still mean to him, you know. But at that same point, they don't hate each other, you know. They don't hate each other, and like they like each other, not like in a romantic way, but like in a friendship way, you know. As for Alejandro, some people may be upset that Trent, of all people, figured out Alejandro was evil, but in no way does it make Alejandro look dumb. He was obsessing over the game. He was bound to figure it out. Trent and Heather did get one over on Alejandro, but Alejandro actually having to adapt to something should expand his character to show that he's capable of more than just persuasion and being good at challenges. He can adapt to only furthering his threat level. So what do I mean by that? At the beginning, Alejandro was sort of like only flirting and using persuasion and using like his and the fact that he's good at challenges to get people out, showing that he can adapt, showing that he can overcome like the team of or the duo of like Gwen and not Gwen, Trent and Heather. That only furthers his threat level. Like, oh, he can adapt to this. He can overcome challenges. He can beat adversity. That only makes him like even more of a threat. I wouldn't have Trent return for All Stars, obviously, concerning his placements. Don't warrant it at all. And even then, there's like nothing else to do with him. Trent doesn't need a winning storyline. In the end, he hopefully became his own character here. Even if he's still known as Gwen's boyfriend, hopefully it's similar to like how Tyler and Lindsay are, where even though Tyler is still known as Lindsay's boyfriend to some, he still has like a decently sized fan base himself. That's how I would rewrite Trent. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. This took me a bit of time, but maybe I'll do more, like share and sub and all that shit. So yeah, thanks for watching the video. See you on the next video. Peace out.